everyone, I'm Cassandra.
And I'm Mom.
And this is Millennial Mom. And in today's video, once again, we are here recording our Married at First Sight Season 10, Episode 15, Forever or Never. And I honestly don't even know what to say about some of these couples. So let's just get into the video.
So the next morning, we see Taylor talk to Meka about Brandon. Taylor tells her that Michael came to her room last night and they had a heart-to-heart. And Michael was telling her how, Brandon really likes you and he really wants to be there for you, but he just has a problem with the executive producer. And I was like, he came to her room, but he didn't go to Meka's room to apologize?
Right.
That's what I was thinking. What about you?
I mean, we already know Michael has the audacity to do things, so I wasn't really surprised about that.
Taylor says to Meka, well, if Michael checked in with me, maybe he'll check in with you. And Meka's like, no, I don't think so. I don't think so, because he had every opportunity to talk to me. She said, well, maybe you guys could work it out. Moving on from that day, now we see Taylor meet up with her friends for lunch to talk about the decision day. And so,
are those the same friends? Well, I don't think all of them, but is the guy the same one from the lunch meeting?
I'm not sure if that's the same guy, because I was trying to figure that out too.
They have the same energy.
Yeah, but those are definitely the same girlfriends, but I don't know about the guy. So she's telling her friends about what happened at the house, at the retreat, and her friends are like, what? God, he's so immature. He's like one of them said he's a 6-year-old in a 37-year-old body. They're like, why do you want to be with him? We feel like he's like disrespecting you. She's like, well, he says it'll be different. We text and, he doesn't like to be on camera. So he really has a problem with the producers. And they're like, well, you've been saying that really since you came back. Don't you remember you telling us the problems when you came back? Yeah, but I think he'll be different when it's just us. Maybe we were not filming. And you know what happens? They showed a scene where Brandon comes over to Taylor. It says security footage. And I was like, security footage?
Security cam.
Whatever. Security cam, security footage. And I'm like, wow, they really were in there hugged up and everything like that. But Taylor goes on to tell her friends that she's just going to try.
Because he's a good person.
Yeah, and they want to make it work after all this. And he just is apprehensive about being on camera.
Yeah, but one of her friends. Well, one but all of her friends.
Yeah.
Which one is it?
All but one of her friends.
Agreed with Taylor, was like, maybe she should try to work it out, because he doesn't really like to be on camera, that doesn't mean he's a horrible person.
Well, that's true, but how many times does someone have to show you who they really are?
I don't know, a few times for a check. Anyway, so throughout the episode, we see Taylor and Brandon interact through the security cam footage.
Yeah.
And my thing was, when I was watching these different scenes, I was like, so does he not know that he's being filmed in there?
I don't know. I thought that was odd. Maybe because if he's not mic'd up, or maybe he didn't think about it. I don't understand what the difference would be.
I don't either.
After all that, Taylor's back at home later that evening. Taylor says that Brandon has been impulsive and unpredictable and doesn't know if he'll show up on decision day. She said she's the one that puts Brandon first in his relationship, and he doesn't put her first. And I was thinking, why are we even still talking about this?
She said that he's petty, and I would have to agree. But at the same time, Taylor is too. They're kind of one of the same, and they try to make it seem like, well, they're like this. Oh no, but she's like this, but he's like this.
Right.
But it's kind of like, y'all kind of the same though.
Well, Taylor, to me, is not ready to be married at all. She still comes across like she wants to live the single life. And you can't be both. You can't live the single life and want to be married.
Back at the retreat with Meka and Michael, we see Meka and Michael in the kitchen with all the other couples. But while Meka's in the kitchen, Michael walks out the kitchen.
Right.
He grabs his stuff. He heads to the car. And Meka's just like disappointed, because she's like, see, he doesn't talk to me. And everyone's trying to give her a hug. And like, oh, she's like, no, I don't want to go. And I kind of feel her on that, because it's going to be an awkward car ride. We see them actually go to apple pick.
Right. And it was an awkward car ride. He wants to go apple picking because he says, it's a chance to reconnect, because he knows that, they didn't have the best weekend. Well, why didn't you have the best weekend, Michael? Why? And if you didn't, make small talk in the car. But nope, he's just acting like she's not there. I didn't like that. They finally get to the apple farm, and they're like, oh, the guy's like, oh, you want to take a hayride? They're like, yeah. Michael's like, oh, hayride. Just like, I'm like, wait a minute. Wasn't this your idea?
Right.
So they go on the hayride.
They're practicing social distancing.
Yeah. And once they get to their destination in the orchard, Mika's like, oh, I like that one. That's a Gala apple. Or, oh, I like that one. That's a Honeycrisp.
Granny Smith.
Yes.
All those other apples.
Yeah, and Michael's like picking them and like, he's not throwing them in the box, but he's like dropping them real hard in the box.
I expected more excitement out of him since this was his activity.
Exactly. He didn't say a word, so Mika's out there just talking to herself. To me, I just would have like stopped talking to. But she was still trying. So after the apple picking, they go sit down. They have a nice little blanket, and there's a picnic lunch. And Michael's looking at the lunch. He's like, Opens one's like, oh, this one's got pudding. He's like, pudding. I was like, okay, so he likes pudding. And gives Meka her bag. And she's telling confessional like, oh, so how he just going to take the one he wanted and just give me one that he knows that maybe I don't like. Mm-hmm. I'm like, here we go. So she's sitting on the ground disgruntled. He's standing up eating his pudding.
I'm like, why is he standing up? He don't want to sit down?
I don't know. And they're still not talking. I just didn't get this activity. How are you reconnecting at your activity and you're not saying anything?
Maybe this is something the producers wanted. That the producers suggested that they do.
Yeah.
And then told them what to say and did it. Because I really don't see any other point or reasoning. Because they could have just drove on home. They could have been home by now.
They could have been home by now, right.
Sleep. Eating Chipotle, doing something.
Eating her Sour Patch Kids like she had for breakfast. So while Michael's standing and eating, enjoying his pudding, Michael asks Meka, so what's on your mind? Once again, Meka goes off.
So oblivious. Like, oh.
Yeah.
Knowing that there was an issue.
Meka pretty much says, if you don't give an F about this marriage, neither should I. Why are we going to keep carrying on?
That's what I want to know.
Then they jump into the car, and something in there didn't flow right because they went from her saying and sitting down at a picnic to the car scene. Mm-hmm. But anyways, they're back in the car. They're driving, and Michael's just like,
I would have been so annoyed.
Yeah.
Beyond capacity.
Mm-hmm. And Michael says he knows the weekend didn't go as he planned. He tried to make it up, and he wants to make it up because he knows that it didn't benefit either one of them how the weekend went. And Meka said, you know what, Michael? This didn't make no sense. Because if you really didn't want to be here, I mean, just going on and on and on and on. And to me, Michael, this was the time just to go back to be quiet.
Why? She had a reason to go off.
She did, but she went off at the picnic. She went on the ride to the apple orchard, and she's just repeating herself. If he didn't hear her the first 10 times today that she said it, he's never going to hear it. She's already said it. So now, let's just have a nice ride home. To me. You don't agree?
I feel like if she needed to get that off her chest, she should have been able to get off her chest again.
Michael goes on to say, I see this is a Michael Watson default kind of thing.
Michael Watson centric.
Oh, excuse me.
Central. And I was like, huh? Is that his full name? Oh, he means all about him.
And Mika's like, you know what? We're just not getting anywhere. Like, I just don't understand. If you don't want to be a husband to me, like, why are we still with this? Back at the apartment, Meka says, Michael, you haven't been a husband to me. See, here we go again. How many times does she have to say this?
No, because at first, Michael was going to start talking. But then Meka was like, I want to go first. And he was like, well, okay, fine. And I was like, she should have let him go first.
She should have.
He was already talking.
Yeah.
She already talked enough for the both of them for 3 days.
Thank you.
Even though she had to get off her chest. Mm-hmm. If I was Meka, this would have been the time for me to hear him and hear whatever excuse or lie or truth or fallacy he was going to say.
Meka was told Michael, you know what? He hasn't been a husband to her and she wasn't going to deal with it. I'm like, even I know that and I'm not married to you. I'm tired of hearing about it. Because I don't know how many times you got to keep going back and forth. So Michael actually says, and this time he's really calm.
He's always calm.
Yeah, he's calm without the sarcasm this time. So Michael apologizes without the sarcasm for once. And he says, you know what? I apologize. I know I haven't been in my best frame of mind. because, I had a death in the family, so, my mind was elsewhere. And Meka was like, you know what? Yeah, I can understand that. But Michael says to her, her response to his family member passing away, she could have been more vulnerable. And Meka was like, you know what? Yeah, I could have been more vulnerable. See, this is why she should have let him go first. Meka says she understands where he was coming from. She's trying to be better about listening. And Michael was like, yeah, because you know what? I'm being vulnerable and open. And now this was your time to be vulnerable and open and assist me when I needed it. Then later on, you see Dr. Cal, and he pops in his confessional. He says, there's been so much trust that has been broken in this relationship. It's going to be hard for them to get back on track. And I thought that was important to say with Dr. Cal.
I'm glad he finally acknowledges something instead of just saying, you can work through this.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Michael meets with his sister, LaTanya. His sister says, so how are things going in marriage? And Michael says he doesn't know what kind of decision he's going to make. And his sister says, well, I met with Meka, and she told me that you haven't been honest with her. Michael's like, well, yeah, I haven't been honest with her because, I haven't been comfortable with telling her everything. And her sister was kind of like, well, you have to be honest and open because how else can you move on in your marriage? And I was actually surprised she said that because before with Meka, to me, she was enabling Michael's behavior.
But she was not saying defending him for lying, just defending him on the aspects because she knows where his hurt and all the pain is coming from.
Yeah, she did recognize that, I know you've been hurt and all these things growing up, and you have to, pretty much get yourself together before you can be with someone else. His sister's like, well, I hope you all make it together, and, I'll support you either way. Now we see Meka meet with her mom. I got tired of Meka in this episode.
Really?
Just by the way that she was coming off, because she came off so aggressive, and it's okay to get your point across and your feelings out. But even with her mom, she's like, I had told Michael, he's not a husband to me. And da-da-da-da-da-da. I mean, she's already at 100 talking to her mom. I'm like, gosh, if you're at 100 talking to your mom, you're already at 100 talking to Michael, but at least for your mom and your friends, everybody else, you should at least not be 100, at least at 50. Because you're putting all that energy out there.
I just feel like she's really super irritated and she just wants to release it.
I agree she needs to release it, but I mean, it's always in the delivery of your message. Didn't Dr. Viviana said, are you a soft place to land? That's all I'm going to say about that. As her mom goes on to tell her that she's supportive of them too, they stay together, then, she'll be there for both of them. And Meka's like, well, I didn't get into this to be divorced. I think she stuck it out all this way because I know most people would throw it in a towel. Because she didn't want to give up.
So later on at dinner, we see Meka and Michael. And one thing I can say about Michael is that he
cleans up nice.
He does. He puts on a suit.
Yeah.
And Meka, she comes in with their hair all done. They look good.
They did.
But the first thing Meka says as soon as she sits down at the table was, I see you've been spending a lot of time at home. What's up with that?
She said the last few weeks.
The last few weeks. But Mom thought that was an inappropriate way to start the conversation.
I did.
I was like, it's just better to get to the point. Just jump in it.
To me, if you were going to try to work it out to see where it goes, that is not how you start with dinner. It's a nice dinner. And you go out and the first thing was like, so, I noticed you've been home a lot more lately. What's going on with that? Now, what kind of response do you think Michael is going to give? I'm just asking. Anybody? He's going to shut down.
I mean, yeah, that's true because that's Michael.
He said, well, I quit my job. I said, there we go.
He didn't say he quit it. He said he put in his 2 weeks notice.
Whatever.
And Meka was like stunned. I was stunned too because
Millennial.
I was stunned.
Millennial. I told you and the viewers, when he showed that pay stub, that was on construction paper. That weren't no offer.
It wasn't a pay
So you got an offer and then this week you put in your notice?
I thought he really had a job this whole time. But now this is like, what did Meka say? His third time.
His third job.
His third job. I'm starting to feel like he is like Tommy from mine. He ain't got no job.
I mean,
he can't have a job. It's not possible.
The point is, That was construction paper last week. That's all I gotta say. So Michael's, was like, yeah, we didn't come to terms with the contract or whatever. So I decided if it wasn't good for me, I wasn't going to stay. And Mika was like, yeah, I agree with that. If a job's not for you, then you shouldn't be where you're happy. I mean, he hasn't been happy since any job. Or am I missing something?
No.
Drop down in the comments. Tell me if I'm missing something.
I don't think so. I just thought it was weird that she just went with it. I don't know if she went with it just to keep the calm and the peace, or she just went with it because she actually believed it.
Well, I think she went with it because she was probably like, oh, he finally told me the truth the first time. I mean, you should have asked when you noticed he was at home like a couple days ago. Michael goes on to say that, he didn't tell her because he pretty much didn't want her to feel any less of him. He wants to take this opportunity with everything going on because he put everything on the table and wants to open up to her to show that he can trust her. And I was like, well, I guess.
You was feeling it too?
I wasn't feeling it, but I thought that was probably the most honest thing I heard him say. I didn't say it was completely honest, but it was one of the most honest things it sounded like that he said the first time. Like it didn't take 2 episodes to get a real answer. Later that evening, after dinner, they're at the house now, and they're laying down or getting ready for bed, and they're again having small talk, and Michael was like, so, what grade would you give me in this marriage? And she's like, I don't know. But I'm going to give myself, Mika gave herself a B. Michael gave himself a C+. I said a C+.
I give him an F.
I don't even give him anything on the chart. Like, you failed. You failed to me week 1. You failed.
You give him an I, an incomplete.
Perfect. He got an incomplete. You got to take it over again. Because you started to open up just a little bit at the end. Like it didn't happen in the middle. I understand that, it's hard for you to open up because your past traumas and things like that. But you came on the show, like Mika said, to get married and to find hopefully your forever, not to, I don't know. I don't even know what, I don't know. I just feel that these two are oil and water. They just don't mix.
Yeah, and then I give Mika a D-. Still a barely passing grade. But she needs to work on her compassion and her empathy.
A D- is still a fail to me, so I would give her a C-. I give her just a step above because she hung in there way longer than most people. She hung in there longer than Mindy. After the retreat, Jessica and Austin meet with their friends to talk about the retreat and maybe what they'll do for decision day. So Austin meets up with his friend Paul. Austin says, nothing is really happening. We have a pretty good relationship. We don't really have too many disagreements. So Paul says, so what else is going on? Like, you don't have any problems? He goes, no, not really. But the only thing I have problems with is Jessica having a problem with my work schedule. He doesn't like that I have to be gone for work all the time. I was like, so has anyone ever expressed like any love yous, things like that? And Austin says, yeah, she said it to me. But I haven't said it to her yet. And he's like, what? You haven't said it to her yet? He's like, no, I just really want to take my time with this. And of course, like I've said in previous videos, I agree with that. You can't rush someone to say that I love you. Because then it's not real. You want it to come from the heart, not just to say it, just to say it. So his friend says, so what do you think about decision day? He goes, yeah, on decision day, I'll probably, want to stay with her. But it's always a hard decision. I just want to know inside if I'm doing the right thing.
You can feel his skepticism.
Yeah.
About Jessica and the whole marriage. Not just when he found out that she doesn't particularly care for his line of work of always traveling. It's even before that to me.
Really?
I've always felt it. Even though first I said they were boring, which
you
still
did.
remains true. But then as all the couples were getting this drama, I was like, okay, they're the most decent couple on here who's on the right path. But I could still always feel the skepticism on his end.
Something you can't put your finger on?
He's not a bad dude or anything.
Now we see Jessica meet up with her sister. And her sister asks, so what's going to happen on decision day? You have any red flags? And Jessica says, well, she can't imagine her life without Austin. She doesn't have any red flags. She has yellow flags. And I was thinking, what are the yellow flags? So she goes to tell her sister, just like Austin, that she doesn't like the fact that he travels for work so much and that he didn't really tell her about it. I'm like, yeah, he actually did. Maybe he didn't tell you and write it on a calendar for you, but he told you he's new at this job. He's going to have to travel. And sometimes when you're new at a job, you have to do things more than other people who they're established to get your feet wet.
Well, in Jessica's defense, because she was talking about the communication aspect, maybe since he didn't really give the exact details on what traveling for work meant, she thought it's to the next town or the next city, since they do live in the DMV area, I presume. Because I don't know. I live on the West Coast.
Yeah.
That it's kind of easier to drive from one place to another. So maybe he didn't really tell her that he was going to be taking flights. And that's what worries her.
But if he's telling you he's going to be gone for a day or two, the details would be he's going to be gone a day or two, at least in the next town. I mean, why would you be gone a day or two in the same town when you come back home? Just like, well, I think Austin's pretty much a good guy. And again, is going to support her sister, whatever the decision is.
But also Jessica's worried about this because she's been in a long distance relationship before. So that's why the yellow flags are flying.
Well, she don't have to worry about long distance because she's in a marriage now. So that long distance thing before is done because she's married.
But it's still long distance marriage.
Okay. Jessica and Austin talk to each other about their meetings with their friends and her sister. They talk about what would be the deal breaker.
But Austin, during this whole scene, looks irritated.
He was irritated because Jessica is again talking about, well, you didn't tell me about the trip and you should have said you were going to be gone. And, I really don't like that. I'm still trying to get to know you. My thing is he supposed to quit his job? And I think Austin said that too. Because you don't like it? That doesn't make sense.
That's not what she said that she said.
Well, that's what she said that she didn't say that she said. But she said that she said it low key.
But what she said was, that's not what she said. What she said was, she just didn't like it.
Well, she didn't say that she said it directly, but she did say it indirectly. And I was with Austin on this. Like, again, this is his job. He's new to the company. And he has to travel a little bit more. Like I said, once he gets more established, he may not have to travel as often. So your skepticism or whatever you saw with Austin or him being like a little put off, that's why. And Austin even told her, I'm tired of having this conversation.
Oh, he did. He did get a little snappy, a little spicy.
He did, and that
I was like, oh, they added some hot sauce on this.
And Jessica be like, like, he's being rude to me. I don't think so. I just don't think so. Like, if that's the only thing that they have to worry about, and they've been decent this whole time, then I just don't get it, Jessica. I don't get it. Before Jessica has to leave for decision day, asks, so what's going on? As if
she don't know.
As she don't know. Because she said that she said.
That's not what she said, though.
Right. And she pretty much tells Austin that, I felt like you were being rude to me. And Austin tells her, listen, I don't feel like you're being supportive. See, now Austin finds that hot sauce, girl. He finds that hot sauce. Says you're not being supportive. And why do we have to keep going back and forth about this? Jessica says, well, I think you were trying to belittle me in the conversation about what I said. Again, I think because Jessica put her feelings out there and she was scared to, that maybe she thinks that Austin will leave her at the end because she already said the L word and that he's traveling for work and maybe the distance and the time won't be there. But Austin in his confessional said that, it's not like we're not going to talk or see each other. I mean, you could FaceTime or whatever. So it's not like we're going to be apart. Really? Physically, yes. But we'll still talk to each other every day. So he doesn't know what's happening. And I don't either. So, but I guess Jessica finally took that to heart and says that, well, I have something to think about.
So for our last couple, we see Katie and Derek. And they're off driving to a winery for one of their activities. But as they're driving, Katie spots this turtle. I know this don't have nothing to do with the couples, but they spot this turtle and they want to rescue the turtle. And I'm like, how are you going to rescue the turtle from its own habitat? You're kidnapping the turtle.
So they finally get to the vineyard and meet the lady, tells them, you guys are going to go down to the bridge and we're going to give you a lock. And on this lock, you can write a saying. And you're going to lock it on the bridge when you're done. We're going to give you 2 keys. And when you're done with the keys, you're going to throw them in the water. Now, Katie and Derek are sitting down drinking wine. And Derek asks Katie, so what do you think the option would be if we had a second wedding? Katie said, well, I'm not sure. Derek says, well, we've had some rough spots. Katie said, rough spots? We've had a rough few weeks. I think Katie's the one that's had the rough few weeks.
Right. She put it on herself.
Yeah. She said that feels good about decision day. Derek says he's feels good too, but he's kind of confused about decision day. And he says that he could see him spending the rest of his life with Katie.
Oh.
Katie's the one that says she's not sure. Again, she's the one with a rough few weeks. So now they talk about what they want to put on those locks that they were given. So Derek suggests, let's promise to be a team. And Katie says, a team? Just like that, a team. No, I can't do a team. She goes, how about maybe let's be happy whether we're together or not? I was like, huh?
Just happiness in general.
I'm like, huh? That's not something you put on a love lock, whether we're together or not. I mean, I guess.
No, you was right the first time. Don't second guess
Well,
yourself.
I mean, I guess. I mean, if Derek went along with that, because they wrote that on there, then they walked to the bridge.
But Derek wasn't with it at first, because he was like, well, like, why can't we just be a teamwork because we're together? Katie was like, well, you can't be a team if you're not happy. So she's trying to rank happiness before team, but I'm like, but you're in a marriage, so teamwork should be first.
Teamwork makes the dream work.
She was trying to use her little therapist stuff, but it wasn't working.
It hadn't worked at all.
When she gave that description of, oh, whether we're happy together or we're happy not together, it's like it's already foreshadowing what you want to do.
I think Katie has been trying to give therapy or whatever to Derek this whole time, because she alludes to him being younger than what he is. And even when she's talking to her family during dinner, she touched on that then too. In the next scene, we actually see, and you should be happy, Derek and Katie actually put the turtle back.
Yes. Only that they kidnapped the turtle, get away from his home. Now he has to find his way back home.
Poor little thing was trying to swim back at the end. But anyways, later that evening, Derek meets up with his dad and his sister for dinner. He says, so how do you feel about decision day? And Derek says he feels pretty good, but he's unsure what Katie's going to do. Because Katie and him aren't necessarily on the same page all the time. And they're not.
But then he also pointed out that he feels that Katie picks little fights and stuff and picks what she doesn't like about Derek and like makes into argument. And
I agree.
You already know.
Yeah.
You already know so.
When he said that, his sister was kind of like looking at her like, do I need to talk to Katie? You know?
Katie's not going to listen. Katie
No.
going to say something back.
Right. Sister actually told confessional that she was worried about how things were going because she know her brother is a easy kind of going guy, and that if Katie is doing that, like, she doesn't know how it's going to work out. But the dad was trying to be encouraging, saying, well, you know, when you get to married, it takes time to get to know each other and you have to compromise, things like that. So dad was trying to give him encouragement. So now Katie meets up with her dad and her stepmom. How's it going, Katie? And Katie's like, her stepmom was like, she's like, yeah.
And I was like,
Yeah.
We were all like, what you mean,
Katie tells confessional she's not fulfilled with Derek. And I was like, wow, Katie. Like, she's going in for the kill. But we know she's not fulfilled with Derek. I think she's just not fulfilled anyways, just from the fact that we kind of knew what it was in previous episodes from her still having ties with her ex.
Day one.
He says Derek's a great guy, but there's a bunch of disconnect going on, and, you know, she just didn't see it. And then what she said was, that turned me off completely, was like, he's a 30-year-old guy in a 6-year-old body or something like that, or something crazy. I'm like, see, that's where that therapy thing comes in. Katie's a mental health therapist for children. Is this rolling over into her regular life? Like, is she trying to say that Derek's a child? Well, yeah, she did. Because she's like, he's a baby face. He's a baby face child. I was expecting to get married to a grown man, a grown 30-year-old.
What's wrong with Derek? I don't understand what's wrong with Derek.
What's wrong with...
he has his hopes and dreams and wants to write that Christmas song?
Exactly. What's wrong with Derek to Katie is that he has dreams that he wants to fulfill and she thinks aren't important, because that's what she said. They're not important. Like, they're taking too much of your time. But you know what? Katie's dad came to Derek's defense. Like, he said, do you come like this to Derek? Mm-hmm. She's like, yeah. She goes, well, if I was him, I would be put off too. Because, you know, that's not how you present yourself to somebody. Like, how would you want someone to keep going and be with you and connect with you if this is how you come across pretty much all day, every day?
That's what Katie wants. She wants Derek to come at her with the same energy. But Derek's not like that. And why does she want someone to be so aggressive like that.
She does. She wants him to be aggressive. Remember what she said in previous episodes? She goes, be a man. I want you, when we have sex, I want you to pull my hair and just grab me up. I just need him just to be just everything. And her dad was like, no. Her dad told confessional, pretty much Katie needs to get it together. This is not going to work. And feels that Derek is a good guy. If her dad could see this, if Katie's acting like this, then he knows maybe it's his daughter that could be the issue.
Right, because the dad also said, you know, this is one of the better relationships I've ever seen you in.
Right.
Which is telling. So what kind of men does Katie like? Like some thugs?
I don't know.
The thug passion?
I don't know.
Some life after lockup?
Ooh, that's a whole different show. At dinner, Katie and Derek talk about how their day was and everything else, and talk about what was their favorite part of this whole experience. Derek says it was a 1-month anniversary. Katie gets all emotional, and then Derek tells Katie, you know what? I'm scared about decision day. Katie said, I am too. And Derek's like, why? She's like, well, because when we're arguing, you like to push things under the rug. And you need to be emotional sometimes, and we just don't have that emotional connection. Derek tells Katie, well, you know, I'm trying to find out if I could be together and if I can fall in love with you. I just really want to work this out. Katie's like, you know, I just have too many red flags. She goes, you have a lack of emotion, a lack of connection, and says, things just can't work out. I need you to be confrontational. I'm like, what? Confrontational?
That's what I said. I said she wants someone to come at her neck. Probably literally.
You know?
You know?
Yeah.
Right. What Derek said after she said that was, oh, well, you know, okay, I'll work at it. But then Derek was like, you know, I have some red flags too. And Katie was like,
what?
What are they?
Yeah, like what? You have about me?
So Derek tells her, you know, when you're all stressed, it's kind of hard for me to be around you. And she was like, no, I'm not accepting that.
Yeah, that's when the confrontational thing came up again. She's like, no, and you need to step it up. And Derek's in his confessional, he's like, you know, I'm not that type of guy.
Clearly.
That's just not what he does. And to me, if Katie wants that type of guy, he's not the one for you. And to be honest, I mean, I'm sure most of us have said or have thought it, like, the majority of these couples should have hit the reset button from the beginning. Because this is almost, for Katie, to me, is on a Meka level, but not quite as intense. They're on the same level, but Katie's more like bitchy about it versus Meka's like more in your face about it.
And Katie already said that she was anyway. So.
Well, I agree. After dinner, Derek says in confessional that Katie worries him about the marriage. He said this the whole scene pretty much. He's just worried because he knows Katie is not a hard place to fall. It's hard to get along with Katie. I mean, she does pick, and he's worried about that. Like, nobody wants to be in a relationship where someone constantly sees the wrong in you. But you know what? At the end of all that, Katie apologizes to Derek, and I was surprised because Katie never apologizes for anything. To me, if it was me, I think it's a little bit too late, but Derek doesn't see it that way. Derek really wants this to work, and I think that he might say yes next week for decision day. So before Derek left before decision day to go to his own place to reflect, Derek pulls out this book and asks Katie, do you mind writing down what you want to have happen if we stay together?
In the bucket list book. And the tea is, Katie gave him that bucket list book.
Right.
So I'm like, are we having dreams or are we not?
Right. Derek says he wants to take a sailing trip. And let's write it down so when we come back, we could see what we did for our bucket list. And Katie's like, well, yeah, if we stay together.
He just wants to go sailing. That's it.
I have no more words.
He wants to go sailing.
Katie.
And she wants to go where? To an island?
But still, she was a Debbie Downer. But she said, if we stay together. That's not what you say.
Okay, everyone. So that was the end of this week's episode. And I feel like this episode was kind of draining to watch because it was filled with people just talking about the same thing over and over again. So I'm just really excited to see what's going to happen with next week's episode, to see who's going to stay together and who's not going to stay together and everything else in between. What did you think about it?
I thought the episode was draining too. I mean, between Meka and Katie, that was hard to watch. It really was. I mean, it just seemed like there was nothing but complaints. It was like a Debbie Downer for everything. Because we've seen this just get progressive as time has gone on. But I will say, for Decision Day, I was surprised to see Mindy and Zach. And looks like Mindy has something to say that we may not be ready for.
Lord, I hope it's another episode of Punked with them. Well, anyways, let us know what you guys thought about this week's episode and what you think is going to happen next week. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe.
And as always, live simply, be grateful.